Let's see if we can get some money in your pockets today with some NFL predictions and picks on every game. First up is the Miami Dolphins +3 on the road taking on the Houston Texans. Miami are second in their division with a record of 6-7 and they in ninth place in the playoff picture. The Dolphins, though, are 4-1 in their last 5 games. They are 5-8 against the spread and 3-3 against the spread on the road. They've been struggling on the ground, though, only putting up 83 yards in 2 games, but hey, they managed to win games. Even though Tua threw for 300+ yards in back-to-back games, that's not going to do it against Houston. Either Tua is going to have to use his legs a lot more, or Kane and Morset is going to have to step it up and become the running backs they were last season. If they're able to get success on the ground, Tyreek Hill, Juju Smith, Jalen Waddle will get their names called on the passing game. Miami will lean on their defense, though. Jordan Brooks has 65 solo tackles with 48 assists. Zach Sealer was named the AFC Player of the Week last week, and he leaves the Dolphins with 6 sacks, and last week versus the Jets he had 4 tackles, 2 of them for losses and 2 sacks, and let's not forget about their lockdown corner Jalen Ramsey, who has 2 picks this season, and it's looking to lock down any Houston receiver who lines up in front of him. The Houston Texans, on the other hand, are 5-6-2 against the spread and 2-3-1 against the spread at home. The Texans are coming into this game hoping to clinch their division. They are in first place in their division. With a victory over the Dolphins and a loss by the Colts, they will be able to clinch their division and not worried about missing the playoffs. Even though they had a bye week, I don't think they will have any rust at all, and they will come perform at home. CJ Stroud's performance been okay lately, and we haven't seen him being himself lately. He threw 9 interceptions, 4 more than last season, and only 15 touchdown passes, 8 less from last season. Can we see him come alive against Miami today? Their defense been playing great lately. Danielle Hunter is ranked 3rd in tackles, also leads the NFL in QB pressure. He has 10.5 sacks this season, and expect him to try and get after Tua. Let's not forget about Henry To'oTo'o, who leads the team in tackles with 40 and 35 assists. They also have a lockdown corner in Kalen Bullock, who has 4 interceptions this season. Also, let's not forget about one of the best running backs in the league, Joe Mixon, who's been tearing it up since last season and hasn't disappointed at all. Also expect Nico Collins to get going. He's been averaging 100+ yards since his comeback from injury. Both teams have a lot to lose this week, and even though Miami is on the road, expect them to bring it to Houston in covering the 3-point spread, and I also think they'll come out victorious in this one, and Houston will face a devastating loss at home. My pick is the Miami Dolphins +3. Another 1 o'clock game will see the Washington Commanders, who are 8-5 also. They're 8-4-1 against the spread and 3-2-1 on the road. They are in 7th place in the playoff picture, and they taking on the banged-up New Orleans Saints, who are 5-8, and they also 5-8 against the spread and 3-4 at home against the spread. Washington are led by their rookie QB Jayden Daniels, who's been playing more like a pro than a rookie. Daniels has thrown 15 touchdowns passes and has rushed for 6 touchdowns. They gripping to the final playoff spot in the NFC Conference, but thanks to Green Bay losing to Detroit, their chances increasing to 6th place are looking good. Even though they won't win their division, but they can move up in the seedings, and they will be one team I wouldn't want to face in the playoffs. The Saints, on the other hand, are currently in 12th place, and I don't think they'll be able or have a chance to make the playoffs. But that don't mean the Saints can't ruin or spoil other teams' seedings. They started hot in the beginning of the season, and things were looking glorious up in New Orleans. But injuries hit them in a big way, and everything went downhill after that, losing 7 games straight before beating both Atlanta and Cleveland. They escaped last week against the Giants. Derek Carr went down once again after making his way back into the lineup. Now the Saints will depend on second-year QB Jake Haener to bring them the W and hurt Washington's playoffs possibility. They do have Spencer Rattler, who already started this season but wasn't able to muster a victory behind him. The biggest blow in my eyes is losing Taysom Hill, a hybrid player who can be a headache for any defense. Losing Carr and Hill to injuries takes a lot off the offensive side of the ball for the Saints. One thing I know for sure is that Alvin Kamara won't be able to do it on his own, and someone on the offensive side needs to step up big time. My take in this game, and from what I have seen from prior years, is that teams that got nothing to lose will come into games to shatter other teams' dreams. I'm not saying New Orleans will walk out victorious, but I think they'll cover the spread at home. But I'm also not doubting or ignoring the 42 points Washington put up before their bye week. My pick is New Orleans +7.5. Now we got the New York Jets -3.5 traveling down south to Jacksonville, Florida to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jets are 4-9 against the spread and 2-5 against the spread on the road. Jacksonville are 7-5 against the spread and 3-2-1 against the spread at home. These two teams are the two of the worst teams this season. The only thing going in this one is who's going to be on their teams next season. The Jets has big hopes when they acquired Aaron Rodgers, adding Lazard and recently acquiring Devonta Adams, who was Rodgers' main target in Green Bay. But things haven't been all good and dandy up in New York. The Jets suffered injuries on both sides of the ball, and one big hit was losing running back Breece Hall, who is questionable for this game, and they also lost C.J. Mosley, of their top defensive players for the Jets. Even though they had key player hurt, they still had their own destiny in their hands last week. They were up 23-15 late in the fourth against the Miami Dolphins, but wasn't able to seal the win. They had a free and out punted the ball, and their defense wasn't able to stop Tua and the Dolphins. Miami ended up scoring a touchdown and a two-point conversion to tie up the game 23-23, but the Jets still had life. They drive up the field and managed to get a field goal and take the lead 26-23. But once again, the Jets defense failed to stop Tua and the Dolphins. Miami got to field goal range and took the game into overtime. The Dolphins won the toss in overtime, decided to receive the ball, and they drive up the field and put the game away with a touchdown pass to Juju Smith, who was shut down all game, and the Jets got eliminated from having any chances at the playoffs. That's 14 straight seasons that the Jets failed to make playoffs, making it the longest streak in NFL history. Jacksonville, on the other hand, had made playoffs in their 17 years in the league. They had an amazing season back in 2018. Even though that was 4 years ago, but that year they made it to the AFC Conference Championship game but took a loss to the GOAT Tom Brady and the New England Patriots by a score of 24-20. But ever since that season, they haven't seen glory days in years. They got rid of a few pieces that were dominant that year, and one of them was running back Leonard Fournette, who won a Super Bowl with Tampa Bay. This season they suffered injuries, early one of them being Travis Etienne, who has made it back to the lineup, but hasn't done anything special since his comeback. They recently lost Travis Lawrence, who suffered a concussion against the Houston Texans. Mac Jones stepped up that game and had a great game despite the loss. He threw 32 times, completing 20 of them for 235 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and almost pulling out an upset victory. They came out short though, losing 23-20. The Jaguars though were victorious last week by beating the Titans. And we know the Titans ain't a really great team this season, but Mac Jones was able to get the victory despite having a bad game. He threw 2 interceptions, no touchdown passes, and only 220 yards in the air, but his performance was enough to win the game. My take in this one though is that Jacksonville will manage to win the game in a low-scoring affair. The Jets don't scare me and they don't look as a dominating team. I like the Jaguars in this one plus 3.5 and maybe straight up 2. Next up is the 12-1 Kansas City Chiefs -4 going on the road to face off against the Cleveland Browns. KC is 4-8-1 against the spread and 2-3-1 against the spread on the road. The Browns are 4-9 against the spread and 2-4 at home. Ever since KC beat Cleveland back in 2020, they've been to 4 straight Super Bowls, winning the last 2. They have 3 championships in 4 years, losing to the GOAT Tom Brady and Tampa Bay back in 2021. But ever since then, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs been on fire. Mahomes has shown he was born for this, and he's the future of the NFL. He ain't come in to just play football, he came into the NFL to leave his mark and to let everyone know he is him. The Chiefs started hot this season, winning 9 games in a row. But all that momentum came to an end when they faced off against Buffalo, losing that game 21-30. They bounced back after that loss, winning 3 games in a row, but it wasn't dominating wins. They won those games by less than 5 points, but hey, wins are wins. Cleveland, on the other hand, made the biggest mistake by trading Baker Mayfield to Tampa Bay and acquiring Deshaun Watson. But ever since they made that move, it's been a nightmare for Watson and the Browns in past years. Watson keeps getting hurt, and the Cleveland Browns keep either missing playoffs or having a winning season record-wise. I don't know if it's the lack of taking care of yourself or the lack of the offensive line not holding their blocks. Whatever the case may be, the Cleveland Browns haven't had a full healthy season under Watson. Now we've seen Jameis Winston try to get wins for the Browns, but his choice-making on where to place the ball hasn't been good of late. He's thrown 5 interceptions in the last 2 games combined, and in order to beat the Chiefs, you're going to have a flawless game on both sides of the ball to upset the champions. My take on all this is that I see the Chiefs finally having a dominant game on both sides of the ball. My pick is Kansas City -5. Up next, it's the Dallas Cowboys +2.5 visiting the Carolina Panthers. Dallas are 4-9 against the spread and 3-3 against the spread on the road. Carolina are 6-7 against the spread and 4-3 against the spread at home. We all know all the mishaps Dallas have had this season, not only with injuries but also on the losing column. Even though their defense have been playing better since Parsons and few other guys coming back, but on the offensive side they keep struggling. They had a chance to beat Cincinnati last week, but due to Amani Oruwariye not being able to recover a punt blocked, and the Bengals were able to walk out victorious with a score of 27-20. No matter how much Dallas tries to pull out a victory, it seems like the football gods have cursed them for the past few years now. Carolina, on the other hand, been playing good since Bryce Young came back. They almost pulled off an upset victory last week, but came short on a fourth down conversion. Chuba Hubbard also been stepping it up lately, scoring touchdowns in back-to-back weeks. If I can be honest, this game should be a game where Dallas can prove how good they really are despite their record. But if they end up losing to Carolina, one of the NFL's worst teams this season, then get rid of their whole staff. My pick is Dallas plus 2.5, and I hope I'm not wrong. The next game on my list is the Cincinnati Bengals -5 on the road taking on the Tennessee Titans. Cincinnati is 7-6 against the spread and 6-1 on the road, while the Titans are 2-11 against the spread and 0-6 against the spread at home. The Bengals are 5-8 this season. They're sitting dead last in the AFC playoff picture. In order for them to even have a chance to make the playoffs, they're gonna have to win from here on out. They kept their hopes alive by beating the Cowboys 27-20 in Dallas. Joe Burrow went 33 for 44 completions, 369 yards passing, 3 touchdown passes, and 1 interception. He connected with his number 1 receiver Jamar Chase for 2 touchdowns on the air. Burrow this season has thrown for 3,706 yards, 33 touchdown passes, and 6 interceptions. Jamar Chase has 1,319 yards with 15 touchdowns. Look for them keep that connection going against the Titans. Now let's get into the Titans. They are 2-10 this season and have lost 3 of their last 4 games. Last week's game against the Jaguars, they had the lowest points scored and allowed this season. They also came out short in that game and took a loss by a score of 10-6. Will Levi's that game threw for 19 out of 32 completions, 168 yards, no touchdowns, and no interceptions. They are ranked 29th in the league on the offensive side of the ball, but they're ranked 2nd on the defensive side of the ball. It's going to be very interesting to see if this defense will hold Joe Burrow and the Bengals down today. Even though the Titans' defense are top 3 this season, I don't think they're going to be able to stop the duo threat of Burrow and Chase. Also expect Higgins to get more involved this week and help the Bengals pull out a big victory in Tennessee. I like the Bengals and they will keep rolling this week. This game is the last game on the 1 o'clock window and the biggest spread of the week. We'll see the 8-5 Baltimore Ravens -16, who are traveling up north to MetLife Stadium to take on the New York Giants. Baltimore are 6-1 against the spread and 4-3 against the spread on the road. The Giants are 4-9 against the spread and 2-5 against the spread at home. Baltimore are coming off a bye week and they are currently standing in 2nd place in their division and sitting in 5th place in the playoffs picture. We all seen how the Ravens struggle to dominate teams with a losing record. They took a loss to the Las Vegas Raiders 29-24, and they also took a loss against the Cleveland Browns 3-10. The Raiders are 2-11 and the Cleveland Browns are 3-10. Now they face another 2-11 team in the Giants. This will be Lamar Jackson's 100th career game, and he leads the NFL in passing rating and rushing yards by a QB. Also, Mark Andrews is 1 touchdown away from breaking the tie in the franchise record in touchdowns. He's tied up with former Raven Jamal Lewis. Now let's get into these Giants. They've been banged up all season long, and by letting Saquon Barkley go to the Philadelphia Eagles, the Giants haven't had much of nothing to talk about. Daniel Jones went down once again, and when he came back nothing changed but him getting released by the Giants. We all know Jones and head coach Brian Daboll haven't been seeing eye to eye in recent years, and we knew it was either Jones or Daboll who was going to get let go. They decided to keep Daboll and get rid of Daniel Jones. Did things get better? Nope, not at all. They kept losing and they keep struggling on both sides of the ball. The only good thing I can say is that rookie wide receiver Malik Neighbors been playing good, even though he went down mid-season with an injury, but he's been back and been doing his thing despite losing week in and week out. The rookie has 80 catches for 819 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's also 11 catches shy from breaking the record. With all that being said, I don't see the Giants stopping Lamar Jackson and the Ravens offense. We know the Ravens defense been struggling on getting stops, but this is a game where I see the defensive side of the ball for the Ravens be real dominant, and Lamar Jackson and the Ravens will put up big numbers. Derrick Henry will eat all game and will try to catch Barkley for the rushing title. I'm taking the Ravens -16 and expecting a dominating performance by both sides of the ball. Once again, here are my picks. Miami +3, New Orleans +7.5, Cincinnati -5, Dallas +3.5, Kansas City -4, Jacksonville +3.5, Baltimore -16. I'm not a guru, but I try to give out picks and see if we all can eat. I know some might not like my picks and may have their own opinions, but that's okay, and that's the beauty of it, cause no matter who you like or who you pick, you just never know what the outcome may be. All I ask is if you do end up picking my picks and hit, or even if my insights to the games helped out in way to help you earn money, a great thank you will be appreciated. I don't want money or anything like that, just a good old thank you in the comment section. Again, I do this humbly and also to see how good my knowledge is when it comes down to football or any sports. Hopefully we all can eat today and have a great Christmas and a great end of year. Thanks for watching and good luck to all. Let's get this money.